of Jamaicans turned up at Emancipation Park in New Kingston to really draw attention to the Melissa Silvera murder. She was murdered, and she was murdered by her husband, the former Member of Parliament, Jolyan Silvera, of the People's National Party. And they turned up, and they said a lot. They said a lot. And you know, the killing of Mrs. Silvera and the circumstances of how she was murdered have really roiled Jamaicans. Jamaicans are upset, angry. I heard from a friend of Mr. Silvera sometime recently who just wanted revenge. That's a kind of raw emotion that, you know, her killing has sparked. And what has made it worse is the decision of the DPP, the prosecution, the Crown prosecution, to accept the plea of her husband, Jolyan Silvera, that he did it because he was provoked. And the prosecution felt that it didn't have enough to be confident about securing a conviction if it were to go to trial. Well, a lot of people disagree with the prosecution's decision. DPP Thompson's first major decision, and in the eyes and opinion of a lot of people, she made a wrong call. She should have gone to trial. Well, depending on who you talk to, people learned in the law, not so learned in the law, opinions, differ on that. But come Friday, we're going to hear the sentencing, and the Chief Justice Brian Sykes has decided to live stream the sentencing. So yesterday, friends and family of Melissa went to Emancipation Park. Among them was a woman who says she is the best friend of Melissa. Her name, Tamara Morgan. Tamara Morgan. And she called, when she spoke with Nationwide, she called for the defense of provocation, which the murderer, Jolyan Silvera, relied on. That defense of provocation to be struck down as a means of protecting women in abusive relationships. Yes, that was the position of Miss Morgan. And she was very strident in making the call, that, listen, no, that should be struck down. And this was what she said to us yesterday.
I am looking for the all provocation ruling to be struck off Jamaica's book. If provocation is no reason for us to get away with murder, for instance. Every action has a consequence. We can't say we were provoked because then everybody can use that as an excuse. And the dead cannot speak for themselves. The dead can't defend themselves. So we can always say whatever it is that happened because somebody is not around to defend themselves.
Tamara Morgan, a best friend of Melissa Silvera, yes? And of course, you know that in January, 2024, her husband Jolyan Silvera was charged with her murder. He pleaded guilty to manslaughter in January this year. And as I said, he's to be sentenced this Friday. Yesterday's protest was held by Melissa's family and friends, all of whom were dressed in full black, mourning, of course, her vicious killing. Morgan told us that she's looking forward to Silvera receiving the maximum sentence on Friday. Of course, manslaughter carries a maximum penalty of life imprisonment. The firearms charge attracts a maximum of 25 years. Yeah? And according to Miss Morgan, she's urging women to speak out in cases of intimate partner violence.
Know that as women, don't be silent. You're in different situations, don't be silent. Speak out. If you know of other persons in different situations, whether abusive situations, don't be silent. Be the voice for them. Be there to speak out on their behalf. Be there to help them to overcome whatever it is that they're going through. So today we want women across Jamaica to know that you're not alone. Speak out.
Tamara Morgan, best friend of Melissa Silvera. And the intimate partner violence is a real problem in Jamaica. It has been a problem for many, many, many years. Yes? Where too many men believe that their partner, their woman, is their property to be used and abused as they see fit. Too many men are of that view. I heard Tonna Thomas's What's on My Mind commentary this morning, and you should take a listen. Go online and take a listen, yes, to what Tonna had to say this morning. I could not have said it any better. Yeah, women, anytime you see that man, raise his hand. Don't give him a second chance. Yes? Don't. The very thought of it resides in his mind, not the recesses of his mind, in his mind. Yeah? Time for the break. Give an update on Jamaica's efforts through United Oil and Gas. They went into the field recently and did another technical testing and surveying of the prospects for oil in Jamaica. And the minister has told, or is about to tell the media, based on the notes we have here, that that field exercise has gone smoothly. It has been completed, and they have now decided to submit the findings to a laboratory, and in 2 to 3 months we should know, we should have a pretty good idea of whether or not we have oil and gas in commercially viable quantities. Yeah, so it's not yet done. The technical expertise is taking place in terms of the work and the analysis, right? So in about 2 or 3 months we shall have more on that. But I want to begin this morning with some information from the Planning Institute of Jamaica. The Planning Institute of Jamaica has said that, listen, the destruction caused by Hurricane Melissa to Jamaica has jumped, the losses, the fallout has jumped to 12 billion. Yes, 12 billion US dollars. The damage caused, it has ballooned to more than 12 billion US dollars. That's nearly 2 trillion Jamaican dollars. You'll recall that we were working with about 8.89 billion US dollars. Now, they have done further work, and the PIOJ is reporting this morning that that figure is now up to $12 billion. We're going to have more on that. But the angle I want to begin with is the Director General of the PIOJ, Dr. Wayne Henry. Yes, Dr. Henry said yesterday that the country is not likely to go into an economic recession. Remember, there were fears that with 41% of the country's gross domestic product gutted by Melissa when it struck on October 28 last year, we lost 41% of our total output. There were fears that the economy would be plunged into a recession. Well, Dr. Henry says no. Based on their research and what has been happening since then, that doesn't seem likely. Here's Siobhan Campbell's report.
While the Jamaican economy remains in a fragile state following Hurricane Melissa, PIOJ Director General Dr. Wayne Henry says a recession is not on the cards at this time.
There are concerns regarding the possibility of an economic recession affecting Jamaica in the short term. However, at this stage, it is not likely that Jamaica will experience an economic recession within the short term, barring any unforeseen shocks.
A recession is a significant, widespread, and prolonged downturn in economic activity, typically marked by 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. But according to Dr. Henry, the current economic circumstances do not meet the technical definition of a recession.
Growth was recorded in the first 3 quarters of 2025, according to official data from Statin. In light of the devastation caused by Hurricane Melissa in the 4th quarter of 2025 and the preliminary estimates presented today, the official figures are expected to reflect a contraction in the October to December 2025 quarter. For the first condition of a recession to be satisfied, a further decline would need to be recorded in the January to March 2026 quarter relative to October to December 2025. However, given the strength of the recovery to date, it is unlikely that the output level for the January to March 2026 quarter will fall below the level recorded in October to December 2025.
Dr. Henry says for calendar year 2025, real value added for GDP was estimated to have remained flat, despite the impact of the hurricane during the final quarter of the year. This is representative of relatively strong outturns in the previous 3 quarters, counterbalancing a 4th quarter that was not as bad as previously expected in 2025. While Dr. Henry believes Jamaica's economy will struggle in the short term, he anticipates incremental improvements as the year continues.
Generally, the prospects for the Jamaican economy for the short term are negative, based on 1, an expectation that the economy will not register year-on-year growth until the October to December 2026 quarter. However, as the recovery gains momentum, each subsequent quarter is anticipated to show progressively smaller rates of contractions.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
So, it seems like we're going to be dodging that bullet of an economic recession, according to Dr. Henry. But at the same time, when that news came through, we are learning that the damage caused by Melissa's arrival on our shores on October 28 last year, the damage has ballooned to more than 12 billion US dollars. That's 2 trillion Jamaican dollars. And that's based on the most recent assessment of the PIOJ. Yeah? And of course, this is $2 billion more than the $10 billion announced by Prime Minister Holness on Friday. Despite the upward revision, the PIOJ is expecting the Jamaican economy to improve. Yeah? And the forecast from the PIOJ is driven by a faster than expected recovery from what is considered an unprecedented shock in the economic history of modern Jamaica. Unprecedented shock. Yeah? Siobhan Campbell has our second report on that.